In this video, I'm going to show how I mount handles on a recessed drawer front like this, or even on a solid drawer front, because it's a little bit different than doing a door. So the way I do it is I make up a stick that has the measurement of the handle. Sometimes you don't have a standard handle, but sometimes you get handles like I had in my last job. They're actually 8 and 13/16 and 6 and 5/16. So I put those measurements on a stick. And let me show you first how I do that on the stick itself, because that makes it a little bit easier and you'll see why. Okay, so let's just randomly say that the handle center line goes from here. Okay, let's make a mark. And let's pretend that it goes to right here. Okay, those are just random, that's a random handle length, okay? So we need to find the center point between these two lines. And instead of using a tape measure and using math and all that, all we have to do is get close. So we can guess that it's like right here, let's say, right? Now you would take another stick of wood and you put it up against there, okay? And just transfer these marks, right? Transfer that mark and transfer this mark. Now take one side and go over here and line those up, okay? And then using that mark, make another mark. The center line is between exactly these two, which you can just do with your eyeball. You don't need anything more than that. Now to prove that, let's go back here and line up our lines. These lined up. And now the center line is right there, okay? That's our center line. Now let's double check that. We'll come over here and line up the center line, that mark, and you can see that's lined up, okay? So that's how you find the center point without a tape measure at all. It's so easy, okay? So now this will be the jig that you'll use for that particular handle size, and you'll just transfer some marks. You'll just do this. You'll continue that down the side there, okay? And those marks will be used now. We'll call this the center line. You'll use those marks when placing the handles on the drawer fronts, which I'll show in the video following this. Let's say this is a big drawer front. The way I have been doing it lately, I never bought one of those jigs that, you know, the True Position tools or any of those cheaper jigs. I just somehow just never did. Maybe they're junk, maybe they're not, I don't know. Let me know in the comments if I've been wasting my time for years and years. Okay, so I put down a piece of green tape, okay? And then in this particular job, I had handles that had the hole centers at 8 and 13/16. So you can see here, I had two actually. I had 6 and 5/16. Here's my center mark. And for the 8 and 13, same center mark. And I have marks done with ink there to mark that. So I use this jig on all my drawer fronts they vary in height. The first thing I do is I find center of the drawer. So this is almost 30 inches. So I make a mark at 15. I make another mark at 15. And then I found my center point between those two marks. And then I measure the drawer front itself. This one's 13 1/4, so 6 and 5/8. And now I have my center line. You can see that there, right? Once I have the center line, I take my jig. This is the jig. You put it there and you measure this distance here that's left inside the opening. So that's 2 and 7/8. So ahead of time, I already made something at 2 and 7/8. So that goes in there. This goes up against it. So from there, I take this and I put it on that center line, right? I would then take this right here, make my mark, make another mark, make sure you get the right one. So now I know exactly where to drill these holes. I use a brad point. You're able to put it exactly on center of that mark and drill your hole. And then you would come over here and drill this one, okay? Now, as soon as your drawer front size changes, right? So let's say this distance changes. It's just a matter of making a new piece to fill that space. So you always use this jig, and then you just use your table saw to rip whatever piece you need behind it to line up with that center line there. And it works for all drawer fronts. Now a solid drawer front might be a little bit different. I'll show you that. So what I do is I put a piece of green tape on there. I find center of this drawer front. There's different ways to do it. I find measuring for me is pretty simple. So half of 12.5 is 6 1/4. And you can measure from the other side, 6 1/4. Let's say we have a weird drawer front like this. Let's say it's 6 5/16. We first have to find center this way, right? So that is a 4-inch drawer front. Let's put this at 2 inches, okay? And that would be our center point. Now you measure from the other side just to make sure, and look at that, it's actually between those two. So then what I do is I take this that represents my handle, and I make a mark right there and right there. Okay, so that's just marking it. Okay, and then obviously I still need to know I need this 2 inches, and I can run it both ways so I get the exact center, so I know it's right there. And then this one, same thing. Okay, now if you didn't care about exact center and you were coming in a certain distance down, like 2 inches, then you wouldn't need to go both ways. You would just mark it and you'd be done, right? So now based on that, you would take and you definitely need a brad point to hit the center of that and drill your hole, right? So that's how you would do that. For me, that's the simplest way that I know of without having to go buy jigs. Now, if you have something simple like a 4-inch handle, then you could use one of these. I had one of these, and they come in real handy because that way you just center it there and you count your 2 inches over and your 2 inches over and you make your marks. This comes in very handy. There's 2 types of screws. They're either metric or they're American. So that's the 832 screw or an M4 screw. And you can barely tell the difference, but I'll show a close-up shot of these, of how the threads are just a little narrower on the M4 compared to that one. So this is an 832 screw, and this is a Klein electrical cutters, and they have these 832 and other sizes, but this is the size that's very common with handles or knobs. So what I do when this is too long, because a lot of times your drawer fronts require some exact length screws that they do not provide. They give you a longer one. And so I take this screw and I thread it through there, and it comes through on the other side, right? And you can see it cuts in the center here. So as soon as you get that dimension that you want for this to be, all you do is squeeze and it cuts it. Comes right off. But sometimes you need to fix the end of the screw because it's too sharp or rough, or the thread is damaged a little bit. So you take your knob and you can check it to see if it'll go in easy. Now this is not going in easy. It's a little bit damaged on the end. So what I do in that case is you somehow have to file the end. I prefer to use my belt sander for this. Probably the safest way to do this is to have something like a vice grips that can hold on to that head. When you turn it on, you just kind of roll a little bit like that until it fixes the end, cleans it up. There you go. Okay, that's it. It goes really quick. And let's see if we can see that in there. I think this camera's showing it pretty good. Okay, let's see. Now remember, that could be hot, so let's see how well it goes in this time. And it goes in real easily. This doesn't fit, meaning it's metric. Doesn't fit. But we can go through this opening here, right about there, and it's cut. Let me show you what happens with a linesman pliers. Okay, here I'm gonna cut that. You look really close, the threads right there are damaged. You could, in a pinch, do that and fix it up on the belt sander. Careful, it could get hot. Didn't get to the damaged spot yet, it's still there. Let's see what we got. It's beautiful. So, in a pinch, you could do that. Several ways to skin a cat. Okay, just as another mention, this is stainless and this is not. Stainless are very hard to cut. They will work, and I've done it in the Klein cutters. I was testing it earlier, it works, but long term, I'm not sure if that's going to destroy your tool or not. Maybe someone in the comments can let me know. Okay, so hopefully that helps with installation of cabinet knobs and handles. One other thing, I have another video where I made this jig for putting handles on doors specifically. It doesn't work for drawer fronts, but for doors, it'd be good to make a jig like this. And the link is in the video. If you haven't seen that yet, that would be useful information, I think. And I even show making this particular jig, which is kind of interesting, don't you think? I know I ask this every time, but it really helps my channel if you subscribe and hit the like button, even hit the notification button as well, so you get notified when I put out a new video. Because right now I don't know the schedule, I just do it as I can. There you go, and hopefully I see you on the next one. All right. Thank you. Here's a jig that I found in my kit. I can't even remember ever using it. Total freaking junk. This is made by Häfele, but it would scare me to use it. It's just flexible. It's this plastic thing. I mean, look at that. What is that? Am I supposed to make that work? Come on. Come on, people. Yeah, this is garbage. Garbage. Don't even know why I still have it. I don't even know what this is. I guess you index it off of something, but do you really, seriously? Come on. What is this? This is a joke, right? Okay. I think I've said enough on that.